ladies and gentlemen, I give you Harry Shepherd. Harry is an interesting cat. Kind of, if you imagine, like ultra super fit, great looking guy with six pack abs, ex-military, carries around guns, and doesn't really take any shit. And he came on board at a point in time when kind of career and kind of personal training had kind of crossed. He was starting to get a little bit of potential, but the business side wasn't there, just like most people when they come in here. And lo and behold, fast forward, here we are now. And Harry's doing a hot seat, which is kind of a big deal because if you look through our portfolio and library of hot seats, um, pretty much any coach that has crushed and dominated the market is in that library. So, Harry, this is a big moment for you. And there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of coaches that will watch this replay and learn from this. So let's make it a blast. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up. I'm going to share. I'm going to take some notes. I'm going to let you open up. Uh, kind of who are you? What was life like before? And what is it like now? I really want you to go deep on the picture of success here because this is what everyone here is striving for. You struggle for clients, you struggle for sales, you've struggled with burnout, you've struggled with undercharging, you've struggled with being a ghost. So let's bring it to life and see what we can do with this. So I'm gonna let you open up, rock and
Yeah,
roll.
so no, I appreciate you bringing me on. And again, it's strange because I've watched all of these hot seats myself. So it's funny, a full circle moment now. But yeah, so a bit of background, as Phil said there, I'm ex-military, so I was in the Royal Marines for 5 years. Um, I left probably about 3.5 years ago now, and I left with the vision of doing something in the fitness space. I had no idea what that looked like. Actually, to backtrack a little further, I applied to do a or a physical training role in the RAF. I wanted to switch over, and that was my sort of entry into the fitness world. I actually failed the entrance exam in terms of the aptitude test, the educational. Not my proudest moment. I failed that, and then that would have put me a year from reapplying for that. So I just thought, not going to bother with that. I'm going to actually go into the civilian world and learn how the sort of fitness space works there. Had no idea how it worked to be a PT in a gym, whatever. Applied for a gym close to me. Luckily got the job. I think mainly on my military background. The owner sort of respected that a little bit, which was great. Managed to start working part time whilst I was transitioning out of the military. Started to get my face known around the place and start to build up a client base. Fast forward about 18 months, I'd worked there full time, sort of 50 sessions a week, just trying to say yes to absolutely everything that was thrown at me. I sort of
What was
saw
your going rate for a session? How much was it to work an hour for
yeah.
you?
So the gym would get paid £45. I would get £12.50 of that. So it was a rough rough going, but it was my first job as a PT. So I thought, I'll just pay my dues, and I thought that's where I'm going to spend the first 1,000 hours. I thought let's try and get the first 1,000 hours under my belt,
Yeah.
and the gym would pay me £12.50, and then that went up to 15, 17, whatever. But my cap would have been £20 an hour. And I was training people in this gym in Solihull, Birmingham. It's quite an affluent area. And people were rocking up in their G-Wagons, their McLarens, whatever. I was trying to thinking, on this trajectory I'm on, there's no way I'm ever going to be on the other side of the fence. I'm never going to be earning enough to have that kind of lifestyle freedom, whatever it is that they've got. And that sort of played with me a little bit. And so from there, I started to figure out, well, I'm going to have to scale this at some point. So I started to post on social media a little bit more and index more heavily over towards that sort of world.
Yeah.
Um, I got myself to a point I wasn't doing any one-to-one at this stage online. I was just doing group. And luckily the military niche was fairly rarely kind of played with at that point. So I was doing okay. I was doing probably about 2 or 3 thousand pound a month online as well as my job. So I started to replace my income. At that point, I went traveling with my now ex-partner, and then started to run out of money after that because I had a bit of a rose-tinted view of what kind of business was. I was like, well, if I can make 3,000, that's enough. And then that started to drop off, of course. And then so I thought I had to start doing one-to-one. And that was where it started. From there, I was just a little bit stuck because I just didn't have any business acumen, really. I was a coach and I was a ex-military guy. I had no idea what I was doing from a military perspective. I was just kind of getting clients as and when I could. And I had no real thinking as to how big this could go. It was actually I was like 80 grand a year was my absolute goal because my accountant previously had told me to stay under the VAT threshold. So I was like, that was what I wanted to hit. And then, sort of fast forward, whatever, 2 years to now, and we are where we are. But most of that is limiting belief shattering, I think, into a point where just figuring out how much you can actually get out of these vehicles, out of these businesses. And I was doing like 20 clients and I came on board and that was what I thought was capacity. And we're now at 125 clients and it's basically the same amount of work. So it's
So just give us a rundown. Military niche, 125 clients. How many hours a week do you work right now?
total or
Yeah,
in
just the
delivery
exact hours.
total.
Now you've got the team, you were doing it all by yourself. What are you currently doing now?
Total still probably about 35, 40, just because I still love it. I'm still in doing most stuff, but I do have the ability to step back from that if I want to. In August, I spent 2 weeks in America, step back more and more heavily from that. So most of the time it is still 35, 40, but it's doing stuff and focusing on stuff that I want to, not that I need to, I feel like I need to, if that makes sense.
Have you got lots of freedom?
Yeah, I feel like I have. I wake up, my calendar's normally pretty free in terms of what I want to focus on. I have a couple of sales calls normally in the day, and then the rest of my time is devoted towards marketing or how to become sort of more visible.
Right.
And that's very freeing, I think.
Give us a breakdown. Your current price point, your offer is how much?
1197 for 3 months,
1197 for 3 months into a back end of
249,
349,
249.
249. Okay, cool. And where are you at roughly on average now every single month, rev wise?
So month to month, typically between 30 and our top month's 40. So we did 40K a month in June, I think. And between sort of 35 and 40 is where we float, really. It kind of depends.
And what do you spend your money on?
It's a good question. I still struggle a little bit to your points before, with a little bit of of scarcity thinking. I was talking to Rachel, I think it is, who was saying the same, where you still have that sort of feeling of, is everything going to crash and burn tomorrow? And I've been sort of linearly progressing now in terms of revenue, probably 2 years, and it's still in there. And I remember asking the question last January. I'd done like 15 grand a month or something. I asked the question in the hyper support, and I think Lee said something like, everyone feels like that all the time. And it's still the case now. So it rings true. But I generally don't spend that much money. I think my biggest expenditure is definitely travel. I travel far, far more now than I ever would have imagined possible or reasonable, which my dad doesn't like too much. But he thinks I'm living a better life than him. But I try and be as abundant as I can with my thinking, and that's something that I'm definitely learning more and more as to how to become better at and more efficient with.
Love it. All right. Um, what would you say to the old Harry if you met him today?
So I was very much, I guess, doubtful is the word, but I was contemplating taking you up on the offer, Phil, for a good amount of time. To be quite honest, I spoke to everyone around me, and everyone around me said it was a bad idea. To be honest, so my good friends, my family said that's too much money. It's not guaranteed, whatever. And for whatever reason, I thought I'd just go for it. And you actually said to me that exact same question. And I think just get help sooner. There was obviously, as everyone kind of will appreciate on sales calls, there's a turning point as to something that happens in someone's life before they make a decision. For me, that was a breakdown of relationship, I think, and it gave me space and focus to throw myself into business.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I've got all this energy now and focus, and I don't have any direction, so I need to find that. But it would have been definitely to get that sooner, because where I am now, 2 years on, I wasn't doing anything prior to that in COVID or whatever, and there's definitely a lot of opportunity I didn't. capitalize on back then. So it would have been just to do things sooner and take action a little bit sooner.
Love that. What else have you got mindset? Like, how have you been able to go from like 2K a month to like 40K? Obviously, there's been risks you've had to take, attitudes you've had to develop, probably friends you've had to disassociate from. Like, give us the real nuts and bolts of the mindset behind Harry Shepherd now.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for I was thinking about this before when you gave me this idea, but I think it's just being an absolute like dog with sales and marketing. I came to realize at a certain stage that these businesses are generally up to a certain point, sales and marketing problems. You
Yeah.
solve that problem and generally you're okay. And so I view every month, this may be healthy or not, you can tell me. Every kind of month I'm like I start at zero. I don't count any of the MRR in my head, but as real cash. I only count my new cash, and so that forces me to be like, I need to book sales calls, I need to close sales calls, I need to follow up on split plays, whatever it is. And so that's definitely massively helped because it'd be very easy to be like, oh well, I'm going to do 20K a month or whatever if I just kind of relax and maybe I sell 5 people or whatever. But in order to push for me anyway, because now I have the team to pay and a little more responsibility. I have to focus on that side of things. And I think trying to have a minimum standard of calls you're going to book. So sometimes myself and my BA will be chatting and we have 3 calls for the week. And if we don't have enough calls, we just have to solve that problem and trying to look at it because I think there's different ways you can look at problems and there is probably a productive way and the kind of factual way. So
Hmm.
if you were to look at some sort of lag in sales or lag in calls booked and say yeah it's summertime, everyone's away, and the marketplace is just a little bit busy right now. You could say that and that could be true, but it doesn't really serve you that much to believe that. So I try and just shift away from anything that steals kind of power away from me and steals that agency away, and just you've got to solve the problem regardless. So how can you start conversations even though your social media might be dry, even though your post might not be doing getting any traction. But I just see them as a sales and marketing issue. And certainly up until 80, 90, 100 clients, then you have to start to figure out systems and all that sort of stuff. But I think it's very easy in the earlier stages to get really, really caught up on how do I deliver my program, what's the check-in process, and realistically, no one really cares as long as you get a result for someone, which is the main thing. Then you have to just figure out how to get more people in the door. And then you can start to figure out the back end afterwards. Because once you have the capital to invest, you can create a good product. If you're dealing with 5, 6K a month coming in every month, it's very, very difficult to build a world-class service because you don't have the capital to do that.
Yeah, love that. Anything else mindset wise?
Um, I think a massive unlock was team. So I joined Power Room probably about a year ago. Uh, and you said to me, why haven't you made a certain decision, hired a certain person? There was 2 people I had to hire, and one was for DMs and that kind of marketing side, and the other one was a coach.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a good answer as to why I hadn't. So just trying to remove or collapse the time between thinking about something and trying to do something. I think I've gotten better and better at doing that. But you can ruminate and think about these things and weigh up the options and weigh up the upsides, downsides. Ultimately, until you do it, you don't actually know. And I was doing probably 20K a month when I came into Power Room, and I had probably 2 of those, two 20K months. And since November last year, we've been at 30K a month consistently, at least.
Yep.
So it shows the return on that investment.
And when you say about hiring, like the chat person and your other
Yeah.
team member, what did that do for you when you made that hire?
Just increases bandwidth, increases bandwidth and scope to scale. So you get to there's a little bit of a lag period. I think everyone's experienced that where they bring someone on, you have to train them, you have to spend that time getting them okay with the systems, all that kind of stuff. And there's that lag where it's not actually giving you more time, it's probably stealing time away from you. But then following that, you get more space within your calendar, and then you get the ability to sell more. I think most people at a certain stage, depending on what you enjoy, your job becomes marketing or funneling people towards a link or a word or whatever,
Yep.
rather than coaching. So I think the more you can remove yourself from that, the better, and it gives you back obviously time, but I think the most biggest thing gives you back is that mental bandwidth to do other things that are a bigger return investment. You
Love,
sat doing check-ins is not a big return investment task.
love that. Let's move on to marketing. I'm going to make you co-host and I'm going to let you, if you've got your Instagram logged in on your computer,
You
if you
get
could
it?
just go to Instagram.com and just give us a share of your Instagram and just run us through like how you get clients. Like, what do you kind of post? What do you kind of share on stories? What do you kind of share in like content? How do you think about producing content, frequency of content? I'm going to let you give us a little bit of a masterclass on that.
Yeah, so just let me know
Yeah,
that
everybody can see. We're not going to see Harry's dirty DMs.
Okay, cool. So this is my Instagram. Recently changed these kind of highlights. Don't think they make too much difference. I think you need. Obviously, I'm lucky. I've got a decent following, which helps. And
Just on that following,
yep.
um, is the majority of that people that buy? Is it like, where did that come from? Where did you start? What was like, I mean, the 1 to 2 big moves that have really allowed you to like pull in this following? Like, give us a bit of, background.
Yeah. So I think in terms of are those all people that buy? Absolutely not. I get on stories probably get 2 to 4 thousand views.
Yep.
Uh, an average post. So if it'll show me on this, we'll maybe get 15, 10, maybe 7 sometimes. So it's not like everyone who follows me is interacting. I think there's a lot of those that have come from when I started, and I was posting a lot of. I was just really heavily focused on getting followers for
Yes.
wrong way probably, as you always speak about going for kind of likes and followers versus converting content, which I've
And
switched.
are you doing all this content yourself, or is there a videography team behind that?
So unless I'm running an event or unless I've specifically hired someone for something, it will all be my own
So
creation.
let's just say that video at 26,300 views, right? If you just
Yeah.
click that open for us. So as somebody like who's filmed that, who's put the text on it, who's edited it.
So there are a couple of different clips there, but mostly that's me filming it or friends filming it, or whatever. And I've put the text on, I've edited it, I've put everything else together.
And do you use
I've
the
got captured
in-app Instagram app to do that?
CapCut on that one.
Okay, CapCut. But when was that? 2 days ago? Yep. All
Yeah,
right.
a couple of days ago. And then same with this one. This was a client testimonial from an event this weekend. I filmed that, just set the camera up and mic'd us both up. That was because I should have had a video for that. They cancelled last minute. But those kind of events and stuff like that, I would normally have a videographer for. But yeah, it's all me. Pretty much, I do all my own stuff. When I have I work obviously remotely as we all do on my own. I don't have someone to video for me. So I use where is it? I use the DJI camera and a tripod. That's it, and that's everything. My
Yep.
entire set.
So
Um,
a quick one on the followers. Let's go back to that. How
yeah.
many followers did you have before you started, and did you grow a lot from boosting posts? What was like what was the main factor in getting that following up?
Okay. So I think consistency is the main thing because I will post daily. That's a minimum standard that I have for myself as a non-negotiable. I post daily, and some of those posts, as you'll see, don't do very well. And then the random post that you don't even think about might do 100K, might do 150K. So I wouldn't be around for those random viral moments if I didn't have the minimum standard of posting every day. So that's one thing for just growing audience. Since joining AN probably 2 years ago, probably maybe 15,000 followers of this, but I had a majority before I started with you guys. So it's not like my following and my income have tracked linearly. There's been no massive correlation there, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Okay. And when we look at stories, how often do you do those?
Yeah, so I've just deleted them actually today to post a CTA later, but I will post a story questions every Monday, and then I will just post but a mix between lifestyle stuff and proof
Yep.
throughout the week. And then one day a week, maybe should do it more. One day a week, I'll post a single story with essentially a CTA or some good social proof.
How many stories do you do a day? Are you aggressive on them or less is more? Like, how do you play that kind of game?
Yeah, so I mix it. So I'll some days like yesterday was heavy, so I probably posted like 15 stories, getting back to questions yesterday, and then today I will post just one, and then I'll try and do 2 to 3 for the rest of the time. So one day I'll be heavy, one day I'll be single, and then the rest of them will be just
Okay, cool.
uh, in.
And what's your strategy around outreach? For example, if you get a new follower, what are they sent? Um, do you do any warm engagement where you look at people that maybe have interacted on a post that you haven't connected with before? Like, how does all that happen? And who does that? And what is the opening message that you send to these people?
Yeah, so we message every follower. Every new follower gets a message. They either we switch between, we flick flat between directing towards long form, directing towards YouTube, basically, or directing, or just saying, "Are you struggling with anything right now? What's your biggest challenge, etc." So we'll flip flop between the two, and we sort of test and adjust. So we might do a week messaging people one thing, a week messaging people the other thing, and we'll just try and make it as believable that it isn't a VA or isn't a copy and paste message as we can. So sometimes we'll get people messaging back saying nice, nice AI message or whatever, and then I'll voice note them to try and dismantle that sort of belief. But most of the time, it's one of those two. We'll message every follower. We tend to message when things are quiet. We message like people who've liked regularly, and then when we start, the way we generally start conversations within the week is either with a sticker tap or a question and answer. So one of the question answer stories I'll put up, and generally you'll get some engagement for that. People want their questions answered. If someone's asking you a question, they clearly have a problem and trust you to solve it. So you may as well interact with them. So we always obviously we share the story in terms of answering their question. We also message them privately saying, "Hey, are you struggling with whatever they've said?" So that's how we'll start conversations as well. But generally, that's how we view outbound, and I don't do that. My VA does all of that.
What piece of content have you found brings the most amount of sales?
So we did. Um, we've boosted this plenty of times. It's currently boosted, but this is like a backstory of myself and how I now have gone from where I started to now where I am. So it's a whole
Right.
sort of journey in 90 seconds, I guess. Uh, so that's me on the gym floor, and I can't speed this up on air, but it's how I went from the gym floor to
Can you
now.
share the link for that, Harry, and put that into the chat, and just so that everybody can click on it? If you just click that and put it into chat, I think that's a beautiful, well, post of like who you are, what you do, and then you boosted it because it's giving people instant, hey, I'm this person, this is my journey, I've done this. Yeah, I like people are going to follow you if they like it, which I
Yeah.
think is like the ultimate way to qualify warm. So can we all make a point of doing one of those posts, putting 10 to 20 quid behind it a day and start engaging on the individuals that follow? And if you want to learn how to boost those posts, go and watch the training on how to boost and grow your content. Um, is there anything else you can give us on marketing, like major like things that go through your mind before you post? Like anything that we really need to hear here to get more leads into the calendar.
Yeah, so I think you have to have an intention for each post. I try and think about it in a couple of ways where it's either proof as you would do a social proof post, or you've got a value driven post, or you would have a reach post as you might maybe trying to just get eyeballs, get in front of people. And I try and bracket them off and try and have a balanced split pretty much. And I will just look at trends as well. I always, when I'm trying to think of my content, I was saying in a breakout room before, uh, I'll either look at people in my niche, but generally the best ideas just come from I go back down here and I figure out, okay, what works. When you don't have any ideas, I think about what worked 4 weeks ago when I was feeling more creative or whatever, and then I just copy the format or the hook or whatever. And by what works, I don't always just mean what got the most views. I kind of mean what created the most conversation or interaction.
Yeah, love
I'll
that.
always just vet my own feed and get ideas from that because that also stops you copying other people. Very easy to just get into a mindset of, oh, that worked for them, so I'm going to copy that. It generally doesn't work 'cause it's not your voice.
Yeah, I love that. In terms of sales, let's move into that.
Mhm. Do you want me to
Um,
stop sharing screen?
yeah, I'll stop you there. Got you. Right, sales wise, what have we got from a sales perspective? Fill me in.
Yeah, so I had zero experience in sales, and I didn't even know what a sales call was when I started. So I would jump on and just ask, just basically tell them about the program, and then charge them £150 a month to join. And that was completely flipped when I initially got on and said, and you were telling me I had to charge 797 for my services, and that approach just wasn't working anymore. So yeah, I had to completely reconfigure everything. Sales right now, certainly. And again, as I said, reached a certain point and figured that sales and marketing was the problem. And so I massively obsess around sales. I think I was thinking about this the other day. I view most parts of my business as just a vehicle for self-improvement. I think that's helped me so much in terms of stopping me getting obsessing over rejection or no's or whatever. I think because the better you get at sales, in my view, the better you get at everything else. You know, you're going to be more confident talking in front of people, more socially calibrated in certain situations. So if I can improve sales, obviously I'm going to make more money, but I'm also going to be a better, more well-rounded individual on the back end. Same is true if I can message 50 people a day and be okay with that rejection. That's the same thing. If I can manage my team better, all of these things are just metaphors almost for improving yourself. And so that if you can view it that way, it's very easy to keep plodding on when things are slow.
Yeah.
So I try and view it that way. And so sales is a massive example of that for me. But I definitely spend a good amount of time, uh, I guess, researching, but educating myself around that. And I just try and take as much from what Lee shares as possible. And the process of reviewing your calls is the most uncomfortable thing you will ever do, but as everyone probably knows.
Yeah.
But it's the
Most
biggest,
people don't even review their calls. But
yeah,
one of whenever I was learning to sell, I would literally watch my calls from the day and literally call myself out on, I'm never doing that again. Look at you see things on it, especially a Zoom call, you see body language and stuff that you don't catch when you're doing it live. And it like 10x's your awareness and your sales performance. It's next level.
yeah. And if you go through it as Lee does when he does his recorded ones on Tuesday, I think it is Monday. He will go through it, pause at almost every stage, and just be like, okay, well, what could you have asked differently, or what? And if you do that process with yourself, I'll try and do at least one a week of a sales call that doesn't close. I'm trying to look through that. You can look through the transcript on Fathom or whatever it is, but trying to pause it and be as accurate as possible. Because I think that's probably better than trying to review 6 calls a week and just doing it for the sake of doing it. Trying to do it as accurately as possible is something I'm trying to do as much as I can. But that one or two a week is definitely move the needle more than anything else.
Beautiful. Anything else?
I definitely, by the way, as well, I definitely still struggle with the sales side of things. Even though, as I say, I'm trying to improve it. I view it as really important. My sales close rate still fluctuates hugely, and it can be difficult sometimes to not attach yourself to I haven't closed 3 or 4 in a week, whatever it is, and trying to show up with the same energy. So I think is another important point around the sales process is trying to protect your energy going in, and trying to figure that individual on the other side of the call doesn't know that you've just not closed 6 sales calls before that. So you're trying to show up with the same level energy throughout the day or the week or whatever it is,
How do
regardless of
you,
the.
so you still struggle with sales ruts. How do you overcome a sales rut? Like what's your like go-to like in your mind? How do you get through periods of low sales, low leads?
So, as trite as it probably sounds, I'll go into my client wins. I'll look through as many as those as possible to reinstate that what we are doing is working. And I'll then just try and take myself out of again, that sort of scarcity thinking that, oh, I haven't closed 3 people. That means no one's ever going to buy from me. You look back to a month where you were doing well. And this is another process I will do. And I did this actually this month because this month's been slow so far. Is if you're not on it right now for whatever reason, and in June you had a crazy close rate, take two sales calls and look at them both and just figure out the difference. There's going to be something that you can identify there, how you're asking questions, your energy, how you did the agenda, whatever it is, and just try and compare them like for like. So that's really helped me to try and get back onto that wavelength that I was on when I was doing well.
Where do you think you still struggle in sales now?
As I always have done, getting into pain and emotion always is where I've struggled for the entire time. I've gotten better at it, but I think it's always the biggest thing that creates the result, and it's also the thing I've struggled with the most. I think from most people I've heard in here talking about how they struggle with sales, that's the position they struggle in, because we're all coaches, right? Not salespeople by trade. So our sort of operating system is there to coach people and to take people through and help people through something. Sales is a bit of a different process normally, so it's trying to get the depth and the emotion out of people is a difficult thing. It's just not something that comes naturally to me either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a piece of advice for that is, to really position yourself as an effective problem solver. And the goal of every sales call should be to find the biggest, most pressing pain that is going to lead to transformation. And, probing and asking questions like, give me a full picture. How is this impacting your life? In what way? Like, how does it filter into your day to day? Give me an example of a social situation where this plays out and you end up resenting yourself. It's very important. Like, I always frame it as a fact finder. It's very important to me that I understand this before I begin to work with you because I want to know what your buttons are. And the more I know about you, the more I know how to level up certain things and level down on certain things, the better I know how to communicate to you. So give me an example of where this has played out. And what did that mean to you? What story was going on in your head? Help me understand your world. This isn't the first time I've heard this, by the way. Normally, what you'll be able to do is when you hear somebody starting to go into a pattern or story, you interrupt them and you finish it for them.
Mm.
What that actually does is it makes them go, you've dealt with me before, right? So, when you start doing hundreds of sales calls, you start to realize that all problems are kind of like the same code. So, just a little bit of 2 cents on that. Let's
Yeah.
move into delivery, right?
Mm.
So, delivery of the actual service, your team, like what are the big punchy lessons that you can give us for us? You've already talked about hiring, get out of your own way, getting more bandwidth back, there being a little bit of a lag period before bringing somebody on. Fill us in here. What have we got?
So, in terms of how our coaching program works, everyone will get the same onboarding, which is getting added into, and we steal a lot of things, to be honest, from you guys. So, we added into what is effectively a hypersport group chat with all of our coaches, and then they have that to fall back on. What that has done for me in terms of reducing one-to-one call volume has been wild. So what I do now is I have two coaches, and you could do this with one easily, but I have two coaches and my VA is also in there, but that's because he understands the problem quite well. So we have a decent group chat, a decent team in there. Though I'm not involved in this cadence, but those guys will have a cadence of times when they need to go into the chats and check and get back. So that's once in the morning, once in the evening, once at lunchtime. So there realistically should never be a couple of hours before someone gets response. So that, because people are now getting faster responses and more in-depth responses, they don't tend to book in for the one-to-one calls, which then frees me up much
Because
more.
because
So that's been
they're getting answers, right?
they're getting the answers they need. And the other thing I've implemented to cut that volume of calls is when people book in, there's a set of questions. They're like, is there a topic to this call? Have we got a big problem to solve? It stops people just booking in to have a chat, which was happening quite frequently. So having a criteria almost for someone to book in a deep dive session or something that is a call. One thing we've implemented in terms of the journey, which has helped quite a lot, is implementing calls at certain times within the process. We have a 12-week process as everyone else does. So at 10 weeks, we'll get them on a recommit call. We don't call it that. We call it an alignment call, but essentially they jump on with me and they go through what they've done well in the program. They go through what they could have done better over the last 10 weeks. And then they go through almost like another sales call, biggest challenges right now, what they want to do in the next 6 months. And it sort of expands the vision a little bit to stop them falling off at three. So that was a big bottleneck we were finding. People were kind of getting to the end of the 3 months, thinking I've got everything I need. So we're trying to stop that happening. So one thing we've massively implemented there.
Love it.
Um,
Anything
in
else?
terms of,
Anything else in your team? Where did you get your coaches from? Where did you get your VAs from? Fill us in on
yeah, a very lucky, probably difficult to replicate system, but they're all my friends. So VA, I definitely think can be, your brother, your sister, somebody who understands your language. I think it's very, very difficult to do. I can't imagine having someone who is, from the Philippines and doesn't speak English and all that sort of stuff. Because myself and my VA talk all the time. Because if there isn't enough sales calls going on, if DMs are quiet, he knows the signs. If DMs are slowing down, so he'll tell me we need something to go up to reignite things in the DM. So it has to be someone I think that really understands your world and he's bought into your vision and can be really commission focused and he responds well to that.
So
Coaches,
you have a VA that you talk to on a regular basis
yeah,
and interact with, and they ask you questions around like, what do I say to this or what do I say to that? But you've built them up over time to the point where they're autonomous, right?
they're autonomous in terms of how they respond to people. But when we work collaboratively to try and get things going in the DMs effectively if things are slow and quiet, and that's because again they're commission incentivized, and so they need the calls to be going in if they're going to get paid.
If
Um,
if things are slow and quiet, what's the first three things you do?
so immediately we'll put something up on the story that we can start conversations from off the back of. So that'd be a question answer, maybe a poll, very easy, but can sometimes get some low quality stuff from there. You'd maybe start messaging people who'd liked posts, that kind of thing. But just trying to send as many warm messages as possible to do as much outbound. And you have to do your best to farm engagement off your Instagram. And then if you've tapped out on that, I then look at past calls. So I did that this morning, messaged 10 calls from August that didn't close. And you
Yes.
kind of reignite that
Yeah.
or past clients or whatever it is. So there's plenty of things you can do.
Couple of questions here. How long do clients stay on average, and how are you going about making it better?
So average stays roughly 8 to 9 months, I think, right now. How are we making it better is a great question. We do events for clients and we're trying to build out like a pipeline for that. So typically it would be, oh, it's the month before the event or 6 weeks before the event. This is what we're going to do, and that's not so good. So we need a pipeline of the year so people can stack in terms of what they can expect from the journey. And then another thing that's really helping is that onboarding call being like setting the agenda straight away. So not having this is going to be a 3 month thing or a 6 month thing, letting them know from the outset this is going to be a long-term process and managing their expectations around that. And also managing their expectations around how they're going to be treated, the kind of response rate they can expect, all that kind of stuff, so that their expectation is getting met rather than things falling short, which then causes people to drop off. So a couple of things there.
Yeah, give us a rundown of total team. You got two coaches, one VA. Anybody else?
Yes, so we have two consultants effectively. So we have a rehab team and a nutritionist, and they're a massive value add from a sales and marketing perspective. Obviously, the delivery is important as well. But if you have a full team, we can now say that pretty much anything you run into on your health and fitness journey is going to be taken care of. If you have an injury, you have a rehab guy. If you have nutrition snags, you have Lucy, a nutritionist. If you have programming stuff, obviously there's a coaching team. So there's not really anything that you should run into that we don't have an answer for. That's the kind of idea. But I think from a value perspective, that's been massive. We have those two as external.
Yeah. What percentage do you do in person with your business, like events?
So events every 3 months, every 90 days, we'll do four events a year. We'll look at doing in-person stuff
Cool. Do you get people that ghost your messages whenever you reach out and interact with them? And
all,
is it just a numbers game?
all the time. Yeah, the vast majority. Again, I'm slightly removed from that now because it's the VA that does it. But initially, when it's me, It's all the time. It's basically it's maybe a 25% response rate potentially, depending on how warm that person is that you're reaching out to. If it's a follower, they might like it or whatever. But what we found actually, which is interesting, is if you have a little bit of a conversation with someone, you're in their head then, and they might then watch your YouTube, they might then watch whatever, and then they're going to come and maybe inquire for coaching. So it's always worth doing and starting that conversation and actually just having even just a generic conversation with someone that doesn't actually lead anywhere. Might not lead anywhere then, but 3 months down the line, they message you with the word, and then they're good to go because you're in their mind. So it's well worth doing, even if they're going to blank you.
And do your team deliver the 12-ish calls for the 10-week mark, or do you do any of those group calls?
I do all of the recommit calls, all of the onboarding calls. I'm the point of contact for all of those things. We do run a workshop every week, and that's team led. So either nutrition, rehab, or whatever.
How often do you train your team?
Probably officially every month, once every month, we get together and do something. And I think for the set again, it's probably over skewed towards sales and marketing. But for the sales and marketing for the VA, we do more regular communication and training, I guess. And then for the coaching side, it's once a month. We get together and do something.
And how does it work for payment with regards to physio, monthly retainer, individual consultancy fee,
Yep.
those consultants that you bring in, how do you pay those?
It's just a service called Plug-in Rehab. He's going to be flooded with DMs now. But he plugs into your coaching business and he charges me £600 a month for 5 injury consults. So you can scale that up as you want to. If you have 5 injuries every month, you can go to the team and they get a full consult with the physio, a full rehab plan, and all that sort of stuff. And if you have more, then you obviously pay more, etc.
I'm sure we've got quite a lot of physios inside the program here that could 100% be capable and do. We've actually some of the best physios in the entire country in here.
It's a fantastic service because the thing that stops you growing sometimes is, especially if you're coaching athletes, you're pushing them, they might get injured, then they can't benefit from your service anymore. So if you have an answer for that, it's huge.
Love that. What do they get? Bespoke exercise programming and nutrition plan or group coaching program,
Yeah,
etc.
so everything's bespoke, everything's built out by either myself or the coaches. And in terms of the training, the nutrition is again it's bespoke. Lucy handles that, but it's essentially a strategy people get. So it's not a meal plan. It's not calories and macros. It's probably somewhere in between. So they're getting a somewhat of a strategy. They're not getting exactly this is what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then they get the opportunity to, or the link, or my calendar effectively to book in for calls as and when they need it. But again, the support generally happens in that WhatsApp group, as I mentioned.
Cool. Roughly what percentage of revenue comes from inbound inquiry versus outreach? Is most of your business inbound or outreach?
Probably mostly inbound, but it depends what you class as that. Because if you're doing like a story sticker tap thing, then that's often where most of it comes from. And I think probably 50-50 in fairness, if you count it properly, probably 50-50.
What cash position were you at when you made your first hires?
Good question. I think I probably did wait a little long. I was I probably had around 70K in the bank and I was doing 20K a month
Yeah,
when
so
well, sorry, wrong. Probably had 60K in the bank and probably was doing like 30 to 40. And when I made my first hire, that was a coach.
yeah, so you're about 8 months out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, People don't realize that when you hire, even though there's like a month, or depends how quick you are to lead and build, which you could easily build the training in a day for a team member or 2 days, but you can literally like double your business very soon when you double
Yeah,
your capacity. And a lot of
absolutely.
people are too scared to make that jump because they're like, oh, money's going out. But your team are not there to drink money from the business. They are there to grow the business. And that is
100%.
an illusion that most people have because they haven't led before. So, um, uh, has the way you remunerate or incentivized changed since the start of taking those people on?
Yes. So it used to be PAYE, used to be kind of employed. Now they're all subcontracted, so I don't pay any of that extra stuff. And I started, and they're all part time. My team, they're all, and that's why there's three of them, rather than everyone being one person. But essentially, they all get essentially around 1,500 to 2,000 a month, depending on how much they're doing. And so it's role related or I guess delivery related rather than standard rate, if that
Love it.
makes sense.
And what was the biggest internal mindset battle from under 12K per month to where you are now?
Um, Probably honestly hiring. So as I say, I was around 13, 14K a month when I took on my first coach. And then in the months after that, even without VA, without anything else, I was able to get to 18, 19, 20. And that was a massive upgrade, obviously. And I think, again, just as I said before, that bandwidth that that coach then, or the time I then had back, the energy I then had back to do other things. And actually as well, like your offerings better. You're not just getting time back, but you're also saying now you have a team to work with. Now you have two coaches rather than one, and you can actually offer something that's a better service, so it's more worthwhile to your price point, whatever that may be.
Yep.
We also ratcheted up pricing, so it was 897, and then it's now 1197. So that was a massive thing. I think it was 797 still when I was doing around 12K. So that went to 997, and that made a massive shift. The back end was 179, and that's now 249. So that's a huge jump in MRR. So all of those things in terms of mindset, it kind of I think it lags the decision make or the action. So I just increased the price even though I didn't trust fully that I would make any sales. And then I gave myself 20 calls to be like, I've done this every time I've increased. Just test it over 20 calls and then figure out whether you were right in your thinking to increase things or not not right yet. And so far, luckily, touch wood, it's been okay. But yeah, that was probably what I'd say.
What do you spend on boosted posts per week over how many different posts?
Yeah, so honestly, just started doing this over the last 2 or 3 months, and I put probably £250 per month into Instagram, and I spread that across 3 posts. I'll typically spend 15 to 20 quid a day until that across 3 posts with 250 quid until that budget goes. Yeah.
Right, I would deeply encourage you to double that.
Right. Noted. Okay. I mean, again, it's doing from what's doing right now. It's doing really well in terms of we just do new follower stuff. So we just do visit profile, and then hopefully they'll follow, and then they get outbound, and that's our kind of process with that. So obviously, as you'd imagine, the more you do, the more you spend, the more you get. So it probably going to increase that, I guess.
Lee, can you just go and grab the link for the training on boosting posts and just pop it in when we get a chance? There's a few questions on that. Um, Question on delivery. What systems do you use for delivery? I'm trying to balance enough systems and platforms to deliver quality without giving too much info and tech overload.
Good question. I use Fitter, the training platform. It's very, very simple. It doesn't give you all of the things that I think like Training Peaks and that sort of stuff give you, but it's super simple in terms of training delivery. We then have WhatsApp for group chats with the whole community and WhatsApp for the private group chats. And then just Typeform for check-ins. That's everything, pretty much. Yeah. And
Beautiful.
we put the Typeform into the program on Fitter so that it's not an extra thing they have to think about, or whatever. They just get to Sunday and then they hit it as if it was a workout. It's the same thing.
Beautiful. All right, guys, can we just unmute in three, two, one, and just say a massive, big respect and well done to Harry for his extreme, I mean, 2K to 4K per month is crazy. Guys, just before you do that, Lee's put in the training to grow your followers, reputation, and revenue. But let's do a three, two, one, unmute in three, two, one, go.
Thank you.
Awesome, Harry.
That
Harry,
was
keep it going,
Cheers.
buddy.
Hey.
That's got it.
Thanks for sharing.
All right,
appreciate it,
awesome.
guys.
And
Thanks for listening to me drone on for an hour.
that was amazing. Loads of
Thanks.
little nuggets there, and both trainings are in the chat as well. Harry, well done. It's every now and again we do one of these, and it's really a an extreme transformation, but it's something that everybody's capable of doing if they put the work in. And you can tell by how Harry shows up, conducts himself. He's not afraid to challenge. And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is this is a personal growth exercise. This is going to grow me no matter what. So I can either, give my agency away, or I can regain it and control it and use it to my advantage. And Harry, just like you, has sales issues, lead issues, challenges. So there's nothing here that you aren't experiencing. So, Harry, well done, brother. Massive well done. Huge respect and
Appreciate it.
rock and roll.
Thank you. I would just say quickly, just before we finish, it literally, and it sounds cheesy to say, but it does literally change your life. Earning 4 grand a month, earning 30 grand a month is a completely different reality. And now thinking about what is possible moving forward, it just completely expands your vision. It's yeah, my life 2 years ago, my life now is ridiculously different. So I appreciate all the help, Phil. It's been a ride.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. That's what we're here for. Well done. Well done.
Appreciate
Okay.
it.